Yeah, that's all good. It's all good. Take your
Whew.
time. Do what you
Yeah.
need to do.
I woke up like 40 minutes ago. It's crazy, man. It's just
What time have you
crazy.
got there? What time is it?
Oh, it's 107 here. But
Right.
I've been staying up. It's 3 weeks now. I can't go to sleep until usually when the sun comes up. Usually. I try to go to sleep about last night I tried to go to bed about 3:30 and I just laid there till I think it was 6:30, by the time I fell asleep.
Right. Wow.
It was crazy because you know, so you watch movies or some people watch movies to process, like so you don't have to like think about everything, right? And last night I watched was it last night? Yeah, last night. God, I can't even think straight. So I watched this movie and I'm sitting here watching this movie. It was actually a pretty good movie. Uh, I had seen it somewhere. It's called The Fair, Fare. And I know where I read about it. I had read about it that these people, I guess there was about maybe 4 or 5 people in the movie, and the movie took place basically in a cab, and and so these people filmed it, and they just did it in one day, like one day, one night,
Right.
and they did it. Yeah, it was. Sorry, I thought, wow, that sounds pretty cool because it was about time travel, and so I watched this movie and it was pretty interesting. It just came out, like I think in 2021, and so it's pretty interesting because it's about this guy. He's a cab driver, and he picks up a lady, and then he's driving down the road with her, and then she disappears, and then it just keeps happening over and over and over and over. And so anyway, long story short, he ends up she's God's wife. She's God's wife. And
Right.
once a year she leaves God to go play on earth, and he brings her back. Or a cab brings her back, and he had died and he didn't know it, and he was the cab driver. They call him the ferryman, and that was God's punishment to him. Was that you're going to be with my wife, then you're going to be the one that drives everyone that crosses over. Anyway, so it was about time travel, and I went to bed, and I try to set intentions when I go to bed, like I want to remember more what I'm doing when I'm out of my body, because everybody talks about glimpses of this and glimpses of that. And last night, for some reason, I guess it's because I saw that movie. It was about time travel. I was like, I want to go somewhere. I want to do this, and I set intentions. Let me go see Morgan. Let me go to here. And anyway, so it just came in really, really strong this morning. That people talk about this bifurcation, the divide. People say, "Oh, one Earth's over here, one Earth's over there." I don't know. I think we're the divide. We're the 0 point. So the divide is here, right? But anyway, I woke up this morning, and my friend sent me a post that was a quote from Ascension. What is it? Lisa Renee's site, Ascension Glossary or something like that. And they were talking about how they were talking about the specifics, I guess the spirit scientifics of why we can't sleep when this period comes and you won't be able to sleep. And it's talking about how the body itself is having to make adjustments because we're time traveling. We're entered this phase of time traveling. I don't know, but you know how I don't know, everything just seems to be like sequentially unfolding. So I had this strong impression of the split today. How some are 3D, some are 5D, no judgment, nothing wrong with either one. Both being organic, that the inverted, 3D is going away, all the BS. But it really came in strong today. It really did, the time travel thing, and then just the bifurcation part of it. So I really don't know what it means, but I just know when I wake up and then I'm getting this message, and the same thing happened yesterday on another subject. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know. I don't really understand everything. I just wake up every day and go to work. I don't know what else to do. How about you? How you been doing?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, Todd. Yeah, just I kind of feel like I understand less, and I'm increasingly okay with that. And yeah, it is that, I don't like the word work, but yeah, it just get up and do what, do what needs to be done, but just put one foot in front of the other. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of bizarre. It's all very surreal.
Yes.
It's yeah, it's just like what's real, what isn't real.
it's it right. It's yeah. I mean, it's like a couple of weeks ago. I think I said it on the show. I was like, man, it's like the surreal is becoming real, and the real is becoming surreal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, in the how do you say this? Like the communication from whatever, my experience, the external, which is the universe, as far as I'm concerned, anything outside of me, the way it's speaking isn't. It's a language that I guess I feel like I'm familiar with. Call it intuitive or telepathic or symbolic or all the above. But at the same time, I don't. Maybe I haven't spoken this language in a long time or something. I don't know. It's like trying to put the pieces together. It's not like reading a book and you get page 1 and page 2. It's almost like you get page 1, 4, 11, 22, and you're trying to piece things together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I honestly, every day I wake up, the less I know, the more I know. And then what you said about just, it's not even day by day, it's moment by moment. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's for me. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and this strange paradox, I guess, where I feel increasingly at peace and in a, in a sweet place. Yeah. Life, where life was like this before, it's just like real nice,
yeah,
gentle sort of undulations, if there are any ripples at all. And yeah, that, there's this strange paradox of, is that okay? Is it okay for me to just like just feel so at peace and sort of dropping deeper into my body and into the present, and yet there's all this chaos going on out there, and people suffering, and it's just really it's really odd. It's a very strange time to be alive. Language just seems to be increasingly clunky. And there don't really seem to be any points of reference, to sort of map what's going on. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah. That fits the energy of what I was talking about. Like, so if the map, if the points of context on the map are 1 and then 6 and then 12 and then 19, so you kind of like have a sense of where you're going, but you don't know how to get there, and it all comes in the minute. And then, like Zana just said, so much paradox now felt in every minute. This has been coming in really strong the last 10 days. I've talked about it a little bit. I don't fully understand it. I'm not saying that I do, but what I do understand is that I've always kind of understood that there's no in between. Like, it's either all or nothing, and both are okay. Where do you want to go? But you can't have both. And so I don't even totally understand that. I mean, you could say, old paradigm, new paradigm, but there is something to because there's a difference. Like, say, pre knowing this, polarities. We're here to integrate polarities, every single polarity, because the reality is, I would say that the old paradigm is one of victim consciousness and many other traits. This other one doesn't have victim consciousness, and victim consciousness only breeds victim consciousness. Like, if I get triggered and I project on you, your choice is you can project back on me, or you can engage me and then start explaining your position, and then you're in the shit, or you can just say nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to say nothing. And this isn't about people triggering me, or it's about anything. You know, I've got messages just since the Soulogy Fest. I think the morning after the Soulogy Fest, I had like over 200 messages, and I haven't been able to work through. And it used to be like, oh my God, I got to do this. And like you were saying, it's not work, but just the things that don't feel like I can get to them, or I can do them, or I don't resonate with them. But anyway, what I was getting at is the whole polarity thing's taken on a different meaning to me. It's actually become more doable in a weird way, and it's a paradox. Everything is a paradox, but the paradox itself is the 0 point. So because they're one and the same thing. And I know we can say dark and light and right and wrong, but the truth is, as long as this is just me talking to me, as long as I walk through the world and I feel like I'm a victim, or I see a victim, I'm in victim consciousness. And victim consciousness is, I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I'm sick and fucking tired of it. I'm tired of dealing with it. I don't want to be involved with it. I don't want to be part of it. I don't think I'm anything better or anything like that. I just don't want any more of that energy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I resonate again, Todd. Yeah. It feels very much just, the old habits, old stories. It's like really so done. Although it feels a little bit, the way I describe it for me is it kind of feels like they are done, but there are echoes.
Yeah.
It's almost the echoes of the story are just still playing out a little bit, and I just have to catch them and watch it. But it's so much easier not to attach and not to get lost in anything anymore. And to be silent. I mean, I've noticed particularly in the men's circle that I'm part of on Wednesday evenings, that it's just about sharing, and it's not about advice and guidance or anything. It's just a space to speak your truth. But I noticed that so many of the other young men are sort of desperate to advise some of the other members of the circle, and afterwards they'll grab them, or they're kind of like just I want to speak.
But isn't that one of the characteristics of when you start to really awaken? Like, right? I mean, you want to go tell everybody, and then there's the paradox. Like in that situation, this is the way I'm seeing things. And so in that paradox, you have these young men in your group, and I say the more mature ones. And so you have this sharing, and the young men are looking at the mature men and going, oh, well, we can help them. These blokes have gotten off the track. But the reality is, those young ones, they don't even have to say anything, because their frequency is less affected, less conditioned, and they don't even know it. Everything is a paradox. Every single thing is a paradox. So everything that we accept, like take for example, Morgan's in Australia and I'm here. On the surface of our past paradigm, that would look like something very strange. It would look like something that doesn't fit our narrative, our template of what success is, be it get a degree, be it get married, have kids, the whole 9 yards, right? But yes. I think what's happening is, and part of the reason that her and I are doing what we're doing is because there are physical realities that are coming into play that involve the physicalization of the non-physical. Then I'm talking about being in the same space, even though by the old standards geographically you're apart, or even in sense of a connection. Look, our connection, you and I, has always been like this. Yet somewhere in that space we're doing this, and I think at some point it's going to start to take on a physical manifestation. I really believe this. How that works, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. And I like your, the stuff about success, Todd, in relationships or in anything. I mean, pretty much it's kind of like what the world, claims is success. You can pretty much guarantee it's like, it ain't there, just forget about that. And so often, what we're told is failure is actually success. Those places where we're not supposed to go, those are the places to be looking.
Yeah.
And I feel exactly the same as you. Relationship, it's not about longevity anymore, or being together, or going out to the supermarket and doing the shopping together, or any of that sort of stuff. It's about exchanging codes. It's about healing, and it's about being, fulfilling our mission, if you like, to be here at this awesome time, in the collective awakening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everything is being challenged, and there's no stone unturned. Everything. And I've spoken about this a couple of times. I won't go into detail, but we had a couple of physical teleportation experiences. Basically, I went over there, and instead of having like a dimensional experience or a etherical experience, she actually felt me in the physical first. So the physical, literally, like I'm literally there. So these are the things that we're going into. Now, that wasn't like a conscious thing. Like I called her up and said, let's try this. It wasn't like that. I set the intention, and somehow or another, the two started to mesh in the ethers, and then the physical was transported. And I feel like that, these far out fantasy things, I'm certainly not going to measure my expansion based on things like that, but I see them out there. And I've had a few other experiences like that, or where there was a physicality coming on board of what has always been, let's just say, third eye, or dimensional, or dream state, lucid dream.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I mean, some of that stuff to me, it feels a bit like, life just winking at us sometimes, because everybody, it happens in different ways. I mean, I don't get strange phenomena like that. I mean, what I'm noticing is more visitations from the, omens from the animal kingdom.
I was just about to ask you about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's more of that stuff happening. It's just really noticing and just connecting with animals. It feels like there's a less of a division between the human and the animal, if you like. It's like they're a bit more accepting of me. I've had, I mean, I had an amazing one down at Gog and Magog the other day, which are two really ancient oak trees, very sort of like famous here in the land of Avalon, connected with the whole Druid tradition. And I went down there the other day with a man who was on retreat, and there was an albino blackbird. There was a totally white bird
Holy
there, the trees.
Dude, that's like a great sign,
That feels like,
white animals are, that's just my own experience. I can't even point to anything I've read, but that's a great sign.
Yeah, it felt really, really significant, right between these two, the sacred masculine and feminine, the masculine and feminine trees, these two trees, and there's a white bird. There aren't any other white bird. We get white pigeons or doves, but it wasn't that. It was, 99 other people. I took a few photos, and a few other people have had a look. And the whole white animal prophecy is that, when the white animals return, it's the time of the great shift and the awakening.
Well, something's happening. I went to Sedona. I had three animal encounters in 3 weeks. One was on the night of the eclipse. I didn't even know it was the eclipse. And I got called out on the land about 2:30 in the morning. I got woke up, go outside, and I did my little thing and connected with the moon. I walked around a corner. I was guided to walk through this opening between these trees. And when I came around, I was 6 feet from the biggest owl I've ever seen. And we just stared at each other, and I did some sacred song, and it told me I'm a galactic, brother, sister in animal form. And then right before I left, 12 wild hogs walked right into the condo complex I'm in and walked right beneath me. And they had a message. And then the night before I left, I'm walking through the streets of this little suburb around Sedona. Nobody's there. It's a little town. It couldn't be more than 1,000, 2,000 people. And I'm walking down the main drag, and a coyote walks right by me. I mean, I'm like, is that a dog? What the fuck is that? And then it's a fucking coyote. Yeah. Well, the coyotes are real big for me. They've always kind of popped in, but to your point, there is something about the behavior of animals that is just one of many, many symbols and realities that we can see the change. And, you know, the last example, I saw a friend of mine who was in Sedona, who I met in Sedona at the Soulogy Fest. So she's camping. She's camping outside of Sedona like a week ago. And they're just sitting around a fire, and a herd of wild hogs, javelinas, walked right into their camp.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw pictures. They're just like docile dogs, you know, or, you know what I mean? I mean, that just doesn't happen. Those are they run in packs. They're not ferocious, but they're not chicken shits either. You know what I mean? You just don't hear about that stuff. So
I think the reality is, you know, we haven't really. Yeah, and I speak for myself. You know, I haven't got a clue what's going on, but something big is going on. I have my faith in the divine orchestration is deeper. It just feels more natural and more aligned to live from a soul perspective than a human perspective anymore.
Yeah.
The whole, you know, language, duality, right and wrong. I'm going to wear the word out, but I just kind of find myself using the word aligned.
Aligned.
Time, you know, what feels aligned and what feels in alignment rather than what feels wrong or right.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I noticed in myself, and this goes back quite a while, but I mean, I would notice, like, I would get an intuitive thought or a download, what people call a download or whatever. And let's just say it revolves around Soulogy, because a lot of them did. Oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. I need to go do this, and I need to go do that, and I need to go do this and make it happen. And that whole make it happen, that control, that structuring. And I've watched a lot of other people working through this too. So it's not just me. And what's happening, to your point, I finally have come to this point where I'm going, I don't have to do anything. Okay. Because what I'm actually feeling is the alignment. Yeah. So that's, to me, like, I have a new outlook on let's say a download or an epiphany that comes in, that I'm actually stepping into that, right? I don't have to go create it. I'm stepping into alignment with it. That's what I'm feeling. And then just to, instead of going out there and charging the hill, you know, I just look for those symbols and those events and those people, and that organically kind of, you know, form that path of alignment that I'm feeling. So that's kind of a that's a serious you know, change, I think, in approach. You know, if that's probably not the right way to say it, but, you know, it's a different way. You have to, like, a lot of this stuff to me, Miguel, is getting used to the way it is now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, that's the biggest challenge.
You
know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Not coming from how it was before and just doing everything new, really. Yeah. I mean, which has always been the teaching, isn't it? It's about being present, and it just feels like it's so much easier, you know, to be like that. Sorry, I was just reading a message there, getting distracted by one of the messages.
Right.
I still haven't got very good at multitasking yet, anyway. But yeah, life is the workshop, and there's this, you know, whole thing of just slowing down and just moving, you know, with presence through, you know, whatever's arising. And there are clues and signposts and little tests and challenges, you know, all the time, but it just feels easeful and as if, how could I live any other way, you know?
Yeah. It's like, it's a total lifestyle change. I think another thing I'm seeing is this. And again, a lot of people have talked about there's going to be 2 Earths, you know, they used to say 3 or 4. I remember back 2-3 years ago, they talk about the Great Divide. These people are going to be over there and these people are going to be over there. I don't know how it works. What I do notice is that I can see where, and I'll just use the terms 3D and 5D, even though I'm not comfortable with them, but I can see where I'm looking at people, and even in myself as well. And what I'm seeing is that I'll say everything, but the majority of things that they're experiencing are victim consciousness. I mean, it's the predominant thing, like the old paradigm. The majority of it's victim consciousness. It's codependent. It's not, and I'm not saying the person, I'm just saying the environment they're in, which tells me that something that person's generating is why they're in that space, and vice versa. So if I look at someone like you, who's kind of taken the definition of unplugged to another level. In other words, you're saying, hey, I'm waking up every day. I'm grateful. I'm in awe. I'm watching this new world unveil, the animals and everything else. And I don't have to go run out and do anything. I don't have any pressure. And it's kind of weird, but I'm just going to go with it. So I see that happening a lot with people. And the funny thing is, I met a lot of them in Sedona at the Soulogy Fest. Same story was, I was living in a house 6 months ago, and then all of a sudden I sold my house and I bought a house on wheels, and now I'm here at the Soulogy Fest. And where are you going now? I don't know. Yeah. It's like they don't, their continents look like a halo, and their smile, their soul smile. They're just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I feel pretty good, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's what's kind of happening for me, Todd, in this. And let me just rewind a little bit. When you were talking about, the 3D, 5D, excuse me. What I'm seeing in the the work that I'm doing is that I would say that most of the 5D people it's kind of infantilized. They're still full of trauma. Everything seems to be measured by trauma for me these days, because I'm just in that work, with my clients every day. And it's like, those that are still asleep are those that have got these layers of trauma and stories and so on top. And of course, the part of the stories and the whole way it's set up is that you can't reach sovereignty while you're still got loads of inner child wounds, and your child is running the show to a large extent. So the people that are waking up, for me, the process of waking up is just shedding the trauma and removing that which is not me. And then what is revealed is a more peaceful and a simplified version of Miguel. And I'm finding that just because I've come to the end of that big piece of work, that began when I was born, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? That informed so many of my decisions. Everything was informed by my trauma, either consciously or unconsciously. I'm trying to get my emotional needs met because they weren't met, or I'm trying to gain status and power because I feel insignificant, or because I don't feel lovable, or different things. So what seems to happen, it's quite crude, but those who have done their work and have come through and are on some degree a sovereign being, which also means an adult. It also means that you're not relying on the government to pay your pocket money, or you're not relying on an employer to pay your money either. I'm not saying this is absolute and you can't be sovereign if you're not, but there's this massive distinction of the 5D people just seem to be those that are still layered in trauma. And so they're seeing, because I can see that I see the world now so differently to how I used to see it. And it's like, I don't recognize myself. It's like a completely different person having the experience of Miguel's life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's another thing. The way we see things was also born of, let's say, the paradigm that we all were raised in. So when we start to look at things, for instance, I can be, and I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in other people, I can be trudging along, on the ascending timeline, and it is that up and down, but we're doing that. It's vertical. And then all of a sudden it goes like that. Because the truth is, you could have, let's say, one program, and that one program is so concentrated and so thick and contains 3 of your inner children, like age 5, age 9, and age 11. It's just this block of the same trauma or the same program or the same blockage. I might have 50, right? But as a percentage or proportionate to my being, they make up 36% of my essence, and your singular giant trauma is, 50%. So and what I'm saying is we can go along like that, and then all of a sudden we hit a big one. And then this is where that whole looping starts, and you see this happening, you see that happening, and they're really all the same thing. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, in the old way, you reach a certain point and then you kind of graduate. In the new way, there's graduation points moment by moment. And so you can't take your eye off the ball. And I try to be really careful about what I think in terms of what leads to separation. Because I understand that as long as I am projecting a frequency in a quantum environment of separation, no matter what my rationale or my logic or what my substantiation is, it's still separation, and therefore it's going to come back to me. So I mean, it's interesting. This obviously is a talk show. We all talk to different people, throughout the day. But it's almost like the complications. When I say the complications, I'm talking about the complexity, all the different streams of information. You just want to go like put an umbrella on your head and go, fuck this. I'm just gonna, carry water and chop wood. But kind of like you said at the beginning of the show, where you just take it easy, man. Just take it easy.
It is time to take it easy. I love the proverb, life is so short, we must move slowly. And that's been coming in really big for me, because
I like that.
There is a part of me that's dropping into the life is so short and so sacred and so precious, and to being in these bodies and having these senses to experience the world with, it's just such a playground, and it's just so awesome. You can just explore taste or smell, and just dropping into that being that, oh my God, I am here in physical form on this garden planet right now. And there's there used to be a strong drive in me of, I want to save the world, and I want to make a bigger impact and more audiences and bigger audiences and bigger followings, and none of that interests me anymore. And it, I saw how I'd gone into a bit of an ego trip with it. And now I do my work. I see my clients and I do my men's circle, and I'm out on the streets being with people, with the homeless and so on, and doing whatever feels right. But there's a massive extra part that is saying, honor yourself, Miguel, and honor this human experience. Be on the land, take your time, enjoy, just really slow down, and just little things like smelling a flower. Now it becomes a meditation, and I can kind of see all the particles, the energy of the flower filling my lungs, because if I can smell them, then there is invisible things going inside me, and just all those little things that when you move too fast, you miss it, and there's just this sense of, oh my God, I'm here. I'm in this form, and I'm kind of experiencing myself and all these different things, and it's all going to be over, pretty soon, whatever over means. But that stuff is just getting really big for me, this reverence and this awe of the sacredness. And it's like the more chaotic it gets out there, you would think there'd be like more urgency and, oh my God, I've got to do something. And it's like, no, it's the opposite is happening.
There's the paradox. You're right. I mean, it's like both are true at the same time. People talk about, oh, you can't believe fluffy love and light, and look over there. When they try to differentiate, I'm not going to focus on that because I don't want to make it bigger. That's really got to do with myself. It's not like I don't know that stuff's going on. but I'm also experiencing what you are. And the fact is, when you slow down, you do see stuff. And when it's like, well, I mean, we've heard it a million times, stop and smell the roses or whatever it is. But yeah, it's watching what's separated us, which is so many things. But I mean, in terms of like how we've measured things over the years has been what's going on in the world. Well, how can the world be ascending if this is going on and that's going on, this is going on? But at the same time, there's something going on inside of us that's become a shared experience, and people are starting to go, wait a minute, that happened to me too. Not only is it the third eye experience or kind of the organic stuff that you're talking about by slowing down and seeing things, but it's also, the pain, the suffering, the downloads, the physical uncomfortableness. I mean, there's so many things on point. And what's really come to light in the last few months, especially the last 2 or 3 months, has been the body. The body is doing some weird stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing some, I mean, it's purging through the pores. I mean, I'm losing hair. There's all this stuff going on. Appetites are changing. Sleep patterns are totally off the organic cycle. So that's it's just such a multitude of aspects of our consciousness, of our reality, of our experience every day. It's almost too much to look at. So I'm back where we started with when you started and just said in so many words, chill out. And you're right. This is a blip. It's not even a blip. It's like 1/10 of a blip in the eternal cycle. Yeah. It's so reverent, and it's so, I don't know of another word. I mean, it's such a state of grace. And of course, the big cosmic joke all along, we thought it was pure hell, but something's happening, and it's moving very fast too. It's moving very fast.
Yeah, it's the it's the classic. You don't see the world as it is; you see it as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that has just deepened so much for me. And I know I've heard you speaking about it, and we're totally in alignment on this one. Which it's about the body, it's about the human. It's not about ascending up here. It's about dropping deeper into the body and being in awe and reverence of the body and what's going on there, because my body's doing loads of crazy stuff as well. I'm feeling a lot of clearing and purging in my the roots of my teeth, lots of stuff moving there. I had this massive clearing in my I don't know if you're having anything in your root chakra, your hips and your groin. I had this really weird thing where it started coming up for weeks. I could feel it really deep inside. I felt like in the socket of my sort of top of my thigh, but it gradually was coming to the surface. And then I was having this really emotional conversation with my partner, and I mean, I just said this really powerful thing, which is, I think, at the bottom of so much stuff for so many, was how is it that I'm 53 years old and I still haven't fully surrendered to allowing myself to receive love?
Yeah.
And it was just that, and there was a load of tears and a load of energy started moving through me. The groin thing just came right to the surface. It was agony. I couldn't get out of the bed, and I couldn't get up and down for about 3 days.
Wow.
And then it just cleared. It was just gone. I got up one morning and it was totally gone. And there was this whole clearing. And what always happens to me when I've had a clearing and a sort of a little bit of an upgrade or something is a load of people get in touch with me, clients. I get new work coming.
Yeah. Your energy, well, it's like, it's magnetic, and so you're right. And I can relate to that. I've had, well, I haven't had it lately, but I had it for a long time, and I had it most of this year. A lot of activity in the root and the sacral, solar, and then everything seemed to clear. And it's not really, and I've had periods of where, or instances where I felt like, say, something unattach, like say in the root or sacral, and then I feel it move up into the heart. Like it'll just happen. These are some of the other things that'll happen. It'll be like you feel like you're going to get sick. You're nauseated, and I feel like I've had it happen on the show several times. I had it happen a couple of days ago. I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna actually pass out right now, and I just take a few breaths and then I'm okay. But a couple of things too, like what you said, is like there's you can see a relationship between the physical sensation, the physical experience, like such as you just described, and then subsequently what happens afterwards. And you're like, oh, okay, so it happens once. You're like, oh, well, that's interesting. But then it's again, and then again, and then again. And then the other thing that you said that I don't think I think we're getting into a space where we can start to talk about this in a mature way without being triggered and without focusing on whatever it is that we're connecting with and engaging with. And what I'm talking about is perspective. And what I've noticed is, even with Morgan, even with people that I communicate with, with Soulogy, it's the perspectives are totally different for everyone. And I notice this by if something is said, even in a group of 3 or 4 people, even on a show like this, you'll see 3 or 4 different impressions of what was said. And I think part of this, the part of what's happening at this point of the evolution is we're starting to see that. And I think that's very important, because if you're in a situation and there's 2 totally different perspectives, which is always going to be the case, when we get to a place where we can actually put ourselves beyond the words, put ourselves in the other person's shoes, and really step into that, as opposed to our old patterns, which are we're having a conversation. It's more of a monologue because, someone's got to be right, which means that you're totally stuck in your own perspective, as opposed to an open conversation where we can agree to disagree. That's not a bad thing. It's just, this is the way I see it. This is the way you see it. This is the information I have. Like you said, the code exchange. This is the information you have. And then we keep on walking down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just letting go of the right and wrong, isn't it? And the need to be right and the need to be wrong. And I guess, what I was sharing about in the men's circle, that I just really enjoy, not having that desire, that need. Oh, I've got to tell them this. They need to know this, and this will help them, and this will save them a load of pain. Just knowing that they're on their journey and they will work it all out. They will find it out, and just marveling, at how everybody is in a different. We're all living different versions of the same story. We're all in different places on that story. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no higher, there's no lower, there's no better, there's no worse. It's all just happening exactly as it's meant to. And there's such a peace that comes with that. We're not needing to be right, and just kind of accepting, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't need to know, because while we're busy needing to know, we're missing out all the beautiful flowers and all the magic that is here, in this dimension. It's a choice for it. It's really weird, because so many cliches and that I'm kind of like new in my head that I'm now getting, and that whole thing of heaven on earth. It is heaven on earth if we choose it to be.
I agree.
To be heaven on earth, and now in amongst everything that's going on, it is still pure heaven as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if you think about what people say, or what's been said or experienced, even, we have to give people their due, in dimension, in dimension, or even stories of visitations to other dimensions, there's an instant manifestation. Like in our dreams, there's an instant manifestation. Well, it's funny that you bring this up, because I was thinking about it the other day in my own right, about my own life and in my own moment of contemplation. I was thinking, now, how in the hell can I be part of something that is and all the meanings of it, creating heaven on earth? If I'm stuck on something in the past, or what's more likely, focused on the future, right? Well, I can't be creating heaven on earth because I'm actually creating something else based on what I'm thinking about, which is actually going to materialize in the present. And that doesn't mean like it's going to be what I'm looking for. So there's some type of, let's just say, a sacred geometric mathematic equation that's been there that requires a whole different method of addition, subtraction, or whatever it is. Or maybe there's another sign, a fifth sign, an ether sign or something that brings, that engages the numerals or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, it's going back to what you said at the beginning. It's not doing nothing, but a comparison to what the old paradigm is, it's doing nothing. It's allowing things to occur as they do in dream state versus trying to hold on to everything and holding on to the past and projecting into the future. We're being forced to be present is what I feel. We're being forced to be present. We're being forced to take, let's just say, the atmosphere of meditation and contemplation to the entire episodic, event, right? I mean, the big event is be present kind of thing. But I get what you're saying.
I totally resonate. And even the kind of heaven on earth thing, it almost smacks still a bit of sort of duality of heaven and hell. It's like, so, but it's like, this is it. It's like, this is it. This is life. This moment and the next moment and the next moment, and this is it. It's like there is nowhere to get to. All those kind of like cliches. It's just dropping in to now, and it kind of, there's a part of me that keeps sort of like going, is it okay to be this peaceful and for it all to be, this smooth and this easy? Is this possible?
Well, it's to me, it's gotten to the point where, and some of this has been through considering. Somebody walks up to me and says, and this is not a political issue, and I'm not trying to start anything. Somebody walks up to me and says, you're going to get a vaccine, or we're going to put you in prison, or we're going to kill you. I'm going to be like, have at it. Because on my epitaph, on my tombstone, it's going to say, I'll be right back. All right. So and what I'm trying to say is I'm getting to the point now where I'm literally going, I'm not afraid to physically transition. I'm not. I don't want to. I want to be part of this transformation, but I'm not fucking compromising. I'm done. I'm done with this. And I feel like that what we're doing internally is obviously as within without, is going to create further further influences, further choice points, because that's really what it is. That's really what it is. We've made choices, choice. Once you make a choice, we've come to the understanding that there is no wrong choice. Once you make a choice, all you've done is create an atmosphere of another choice. So one of those choices can be, I take that back. I want to reset. I change my mind, or whatever the case may be. But I agree with you, because the idea, okay, I go back to that movie I was telling you about. So in this movie, the cab driver's driving the lady, and they start to get to know each other. His memory's coming back. Sound familiar? So his memory's coming back, and so every time he picks her up, he remembers who she was from before, and so it's an ongoing thing. So once he gets to a certain point, he's trying to go further, like he's trying to break out of this loop. And he gets out, he drives the cab further down the road. He's never driven it before, and all of a sudden everything goes out, and he hears this voice. He sees the figure, hears it, go back. It's like kind of scary. I thought, is this a horror movie? I thought it was like a metaphysical movie. Well, long story short, what you think is the devil is God. Because you're going, oh my God, he's in hell. Like he's in hell. And then as God starts to talk to him, you realize this is God. And everything is merciful and graceful, and so on and so on. And so, to your point, that concept, it is a let's just say a pillar of duality, that there is a heaven or there is a hell. We can't, well, not can't, Well, we can't. Even if we want to, we can't separate ourselves. We can't divorce ourselves from anything. And that's that paradox, and that's that integration of polarities. But I think what I get from you, which is, validating to me, is that in that space that we bring them together, that's all it is. It's just peace. It's no judgment. It's just, hey, it's about me. I'm here. I'm conscious. I'm awake. What do I want to do with my life? Yeah. And then that energy is what brings you, what's coming, so to speak. Your good work brings you more good energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that what we call hell or the devil, it's just trauma. It's all man-made. Anything, it all seems to be man-made to me, because all of my hells, all of my devilish moments, they were all just the shedding of unexpressed trauma. They were just the revisiting of, now what I couldn't, experience then. And now that there is, now that I am pretty trauma-free and I've come through this journey, it's like, well, yeah, then it's heaven, and it's not a heaven, white and fluffy and blind and ignorant. I see it all and I feel it all, and I have times where I'm just overwhelmed with grief, for what is going on in the world and how many people are suffering and are confused and struggling, and don't understand what is taking place at the moment. And yet at the same time, that is also divinely orchestrated, and that is the result of this. This is what men has done. We've been given free will to play on this garden planet, and look what we've done. So, it's no good moaning about it, but it's where we are. And the way out of it is shedding the trauma and releasing that which is not true, because we can't become sovereign until we do that. We have to step in to those scary places, into those dark places inside us, because that's where the treasure is. And
that's right.
And I love you speaking about the death thing is really up for me as well. I'm just spending so much time with death, walking with death, exploring death, contemplating death, and just, it's kind of like the more fully I arrive here, the more reverence and awe and respect I have for death. Whatever death means, taking off a tight shoe, the doorway into the infinite, or whatever that is. But I'm feeling the same. It's like there is some preparation for, and I tie this into my men's work, that us men were, we were domesticated and we were turned into chihuahuas and poodles. And it's time for us to reclaim our wolfness and to remember who we are. And wolves run in packs. They don't do it on their own anymore. We men sit in circles and we're doing this together. And there is something about, where are the warriors? Where are the men who are not frightened of death? That know that death is just a doorway, that are ready to stand up and be counted, whatever, because once you've transcended the fear of death, then we're talking super sovereignty. Then then they have no control.
That's right. And things start changing. Things start happening. We had a great show with James Greenshields. He comes on, couple of months, every couple of 2 or 3 months, and down in Australia. And he's a phenomenal guy. He went to Iraq. He was a military guy. He was a commander. He got hit by a roadside bomb. So he has a great story, and he takes men and boys into the bush, and has like these experiences. And I asked him yesterday, because his dad was in the military. He's in the military. It's that whole thing going. I said, I know that, I think he started seeking the expanse, the true meaning of warrior, or embodying the true meaning of warrior, about 2012. And so there's been a whole evolution of it. And I said, you'd probably be someone that could really speak to what is the new war, what is the real warrior? Like, because we all contained and embodied that archetypical warrior that was, we know what that was, and it didn't work, obviously, like all the other old ones. But what he said to me was really interesting. He said, in so many words, that the new warrior is the one that does hold space. And I'll take it further, like when the new warrior, or let's say when the warrior is in the presence of let's just say a person, a close person or a friend or even a stranger who's tripping out, who's imbalanced, who's projecting, who's triggering, who's displaying their conditioning, that they don't have to tell them, they don't have to fix them, they just create that container. And it's not even holding space, it's more than that, because it actually has an alchemical reaction to it. There's something about that. There's something about, and this is something I've been really focused on, because I'm realizing that I don't have to do those things we used to do. I don't have to be the young boys in your class or in your meeting every week who want to tell the mature guys how they can fix them. I don't have to do this anymore. I can actually hold it all in compassion and understanding and apply my frequency that way, versus some kind of physical construct that will make the world better, to your point earlier, But I thought it was really interesting because in his description, the salient points were energies of what looked to be nothing. In other words, stillness versus action. Let's charge the hill and carry the flag and kill the enemies and all that stuff. So I think that, and the other thing I'll say about this too is, that for a long time, and this, and we both feel the same in regard to the divine feminine. Well, we know that they started this whole thing. If you go back a few years and you see all the posts, it's the divine feminine's landed and so on and so on. But the fact is that feminine energy within us and in our playmates cannot do it alone. And this isn't about men and women, although it falls that way sometimes. So this emerging masculine energy is absolutely essential to a balanced shared experience. And I'm with you on that. And I have seen this year, especially the last 2-3 months, I've seen a lot of men stepping up, some on this show, who have been in the background and who are starting to come out. Boots are shaking. I mean, they're not like the old warrior, like, show me where to charge the hill. They're like tentatively coming out, and now they're dealing. I've watched them dealing with the energy that comes back to them. And to your point earlier, you're 53 years old and you realize, or whatever the age is, and you realize, wow, I don't know if I can even receive this love, because I don't know how. Because that's what they're generating. They're generating this transparency, and then the brothers, sisters are looking back at them, generating back, and then they're going, holy crap,
I like that definition of the new warrior, and it just got me kind of like thinking a little bit. And I guess what we come down to is, what is the new warrior if it's not sacred union? It's not it's an adult human being that is in sacred union with themselves, that has that balance of masculine and feminine, that has that gentle strength, that has the ability to push forward and be in action when there needs to be, and also knows through discernment when to just be, and when to hold space, and when to be silent, and when to be still, and when to receive. It's all about that, and that's what sovereignty is, isn't it? And the reality is that's who we all are. That's who we all are. It looks a bit like, we've got healers and shamans and wizards and and people who are really good at certain stuff, but that's who we all are.
Exactly.
We're just waking up to none of these are fancy powers or anything out of the ordinary. They're all our birthrights. They're all what we all have before we were downgraded, or however you want to put it.
Before we and this is another good point that you bring to me. It's really frustrated me, even being in the relationship with Morgan. as I watch, not the relationship, but I'm talking about the dynamics that are represented in a relationship such as ours, which is really a reflection of what's going on in the whole thing, right? And in each one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the over-identification with feminine, female, masculine, male. Now, as an example, what's happened? What is the difference? What is the evolution characteristics of, let's just say, a man like you or me, as if we look back the last, whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, where there's been a conscious effort to expand and to get to know, let's say, the divine feminine, all along knowing it's in us, and at first not feeling it, and then you start to feel it, then you start to see it in action. My point is this: what has been one of the primary characteristics of this evolution? Well, it's been Todd and Miguel have truly become more compassionate beyond words. They have truly learned how to hold space. They've truly learned to be nurturing, but where? To themselves. And now it's playing out over here. So these are what you might call feminine qualities, divine feminine qualities. Now, if you look at the female incarnate, and again, there's been a lot of separation through the genders, but again, we're merging polarities, and the paradox is all the one and the same. So what would that look like to them? Well, a lot of them had let's say, became single parents, single breadwinner, and they had to take on masculine characteristics, but those were distorted masculine characteristics. And of course, that further embedded the separation and division and the prejudices and the biases. But what's happening now? Well, that conversion is the same. It's just inverted. So they're taking on the true divine masculine, which is what? Action, creation, support. I mean, you see what I mean? So that's, I think, actually happening in all of us. And another part of how do you gauge our progress? How do you gauge, am I the same alpha male I was 10 years ago? No. If it's a woman, am I the damsel in distress that I was 10 years ago? So these are all changing, and it's a very personal thing. It's kind of like when, unfortunately, when any of us lose somebody and somebody physically transitions, it's very close to you, and people come up to you and they're like, in so many words, get over it, right? Or even a big trauma in your life, get over it. And you're like, fuck off, Well, it's the same type of thing. Don't tell me what I'm going through. Don't tell me, well, I can do this and I get there. I'm going to find this out on my own. Please, I'm an open sponge. Give me whatever information and code you want to from the heart of your intentions. And let me discern. And I think this goes back to something else you said, which is, in so many words, we're all wizards. We're all healers and magicians. Why? Who in the hell do we think we are that we can tell somebody what we know that they are and what we know they can do? Because how do you feel when someone does it to you? But it's okay for me to do it to you. So let's all be aware and beware of the narcissistic tendencies that we all have, and turn it into a pocket of knowledge that stays within our field, as opposed to throwing it out in left field and saying that's not me, because it's all of us, right?
Totally. Everybody has their own perfectly orchestrated journey. They all have their own, and we don't know. We it's really easy to come from this place of, oh, this is what works for me, so it must be the way out of the labyrinth for you as well. And it's like, but they're in a different labyrinth, or they're not in a labyrinth, or it's completely different. It's have faith in the human, have faith in the divine orchestration, that it's all happening as it's meant to. I can only do the work that I can, working with people with their trauma, because I know that their trauma is also their blessing. It is also the medicine, So
I like what you said about that. That the trauma, that's the part of us we don't know. That's how I would put what you said. That's the part of us we don't know, and we can all look at it like you talked about, receiving love, like in that moment, or in those moments, because it's always graduated, right? you must have gone, holy fucking shit. I can actually lay back and receive this. And what that does for you as the human part of us, like I'm not dead. I'm not limited. Look at what I achieved. I mean, it's a very, I mean, all the heroes we need are in our own story, and it's us. Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just, you know.
I am the horn god. I love that thing, man.
Absolutely. You've been listening to that, have you?
Yes, I played on the remix. I haven't done a remix since I got back from Sedona, but I'm working on stuff, and it's nice to be working on stuff and not have the pressure of things. But one of the because I'll tell you why, because I haven't found very many pieces that display that energy, which is you, which is what you've been in the last hour and what you are. It's humble, it's powerful, it's loving, obviously it's compassionate, it's honorable, it's reverent, and it's to me, I like to listen to it. I probably listened to it 30 times since I got it. And for me, what I really like about it is it helps me remember our opens code, or however you want to put it. I don't know. It just brings me, it's like listening. Well, you know how music is, I mean, or meditation. I mean, it just, you have a favorite record or whatever, it takes you to a certain energetic place.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I'll tell you when I listen to it, Miguel.
Okay.
It's when, and I'm probably gonna listen to it soon, because all day yesterday, I felt, I mean, I literally had the tears right here, right? You know how they just, and they come up, and it stings a little bit. This is happening during shows. It happened to me at the beginning of this show. I can feel a big purge coming that's probably going to be heavily emotional. Now, this has happened to me a few times, and I'll listen to it. And I don't know. It just does something for me. So I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, he remembers that song. Have you done any more of those?
There's another one that's called What is the Sacred Masculine? There are those two. There's a third one, which is a sacred union invocation, which we're just working on the music at the moment. I mean, I usually try to get young men to work with me, so that it's a little project that we can do. So there's a bit of mentoring that takes place at the same time. And there's another young man that I'm doing a little bit of informal mentoring, and we're just waiting for him to come up with trumps with the music side of it. Wow. But there'll be more. There's more. Sacred Union Invocation will be coming soon, and the Horn God stuff is interesting. There are men connecting with me because of the Horn God energy. There's a guy that I've been working with in Malaysia for a while, who's just like, he came to Glastonbury many years ago, and he just felt this connection with the Horn God. And then he found, then he found me on the internet and was like, yeah, right, I need to start working with this guy. But it's happening quite often, and it is this, it's part of the sovereignty, and it's part of what it says, until you've embraced the primal, the Horn God energy, you can't be fully sovereign until you remember that aspect of who you are. I agree. Of course, I spend a lot of time alone now. And I've got a very natural setting back here. A fox. I was doing a show yesterday, and a fox walked right across. I can see in the back from here, and a fox walked right out of the forest. There's one of those things you're talking about. So I'm looking up, what does that mean? And then I connect with the fox later on after the show. Yeah. But that's one of those. What you're saying. Okay. So I'm alone. I do weird stuff anyway, like we all do. And I mean, I'm growling. I'm just like, that wasn't a good one. I mean, because it comes from way down. Yeah. And it is this primordial thing. It's the beast, it's a beast. And of course, in the most beautiful way.
It is the protector, and it is super, powerful. But make no mistake, I come from the soil. I come from the goo. I'm the lava, and I'm the sea, and I mean, it's the beast. And I think that is extremely important to, at least from my perspective, when it comes to a man, a typical man, okay? Because I know there's always exceptions. So I'm talking must be 90, 95, fifth percentile of us who've been conditioned, who've been on the men's journey to refine their, or to rediscover their true self, their true nature. And I find it very powerful. Chanting, ancient song, growling, just doing weird stuff like walking, getting on all fours and walking around, rooting like a, I mean it. It's a powerful thing. And I think there must be some type of cosmic muscle memory or something, because there is an activation, like with Who Is the Horn God. To me, there's an activation.
Yeah. And if society's saying you should be civilized and eat with knives and forks and wear clothes and cover your genitals, then we know we need to do the opposite. There's gold if we go the opposite way, huh?
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I totally resonate with that. I know I was there yesterday. I can feel it because I remember having this conversation with myself. And what you just said, I can't even put it into words. Yeah. It's an all or, right when you said that, it was a 1 hour, 11 minutes and 11 seconds when you said that. So there's got to be some truth to that. Man, it's good seeing you. It really is. It's interesting with someone, so we've known each other for over 2 years, and it's so powerful. We both showed our ass. We've all shown our ass. You can't not show your ass in the middle of this transition we call ascension if you're putting any effort into it. And this is one of the big things for me in the work that I do in trying to promote this energy that I can't put my finger on, right? And that is this transparency. To watch others transform, as I know people have seen my own, is such a powerful testament to the trajectory and everything else of what we've been doing and what's brought us all together. I mean, so it's just I don't know, man, how to explain it. Primordial beast or not, my heart's fucking exploding looking at you and talking to you. That's the truth.
Bless you, Todd. Bless you. Yeah, likewise. Just so good to connect. So good to connect and know that you're doing your stuff out there, and there are more. There are more of us brothers that are stepping up and that are doing our thing. It's happening. It is happening. And the masculine energy, just big time. All my clients pretty much were all working on the masculine template.
Yeah.
Speaking your truth, your boundaries. You're just getting stuff organized, persevering, and there's so much floaty sort of like stuff like around, and because there's been so much of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because what's present with the masculine is so distorted that most women and loads of men have gone, fuck that, I don't want anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all gone, and we're putting back the healthy, whole, aligned pieces. It's really happening.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's happening is we're discovering how much we've run as in run away. And I don't mean just men, but I mean all of us. It may not look like, maybe I don't move my location, or maybe I don't get out of a certain relationship, but I'm running. Okay. And what were we running from, or what we were hoping to run towards, I think is to your point earlier, where's heaven? It's right here. Where's the real Miguel and Todd? We're right here, and I think I'm seeing that, which I think is a really good sign as well. Somebody asked they said they saw a cross back there, and they said that they're not religious, but I believe in Jesus. The book has an ending that discusses the forgotten promise. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about the forgotten promise, but the cross that they've noticed behind me is it's a Celtic cross, or it's all sort of Celtic knotwork. So yeah, it's part of that. Yeah, there is just a magnetic attraction for me for the Celtic and the indigenous peoples of this land. There's something very special and very sacred about this land.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know anything about the forgotten promise, but yeah,
maybe it's us, the promise. But no matter what happens, we'll have you back. Do you want to do? Do you want to do anything before we get out of here? I don't know if you want to. If there's anything you feel like doing, or if you just if you got anything coming up, obviously, please let us know where to find you and what's happening. But I don't know if you want to do a prayer or anything like that. I don't know why I'm even asking you this, but I'm just doing what I'm told.
Okay. Well, the thing that comes to mind, I'm kind of thinking, Todd, why are you asking me that? Like, you know what I mean? But
I have no idea. This is part of that. This is higher that you were talking about this earlier. You were talking about the higher perspective, and I keep coming back to this, and maybe this is why I came up. And you'll probably have something to complement it, but you know, if you think about it, at some level, we're being asked to walk the talk. And what does that mean? It means so many different things. You could explain so many different ways. But one thing that it does mean to me is to be able to look at everything from the higher perspective, to know that child trafficking has no victims from the higher perspective. And we talk about the higher self embodying with the human, right? That's one thing to me that would make sense. If I can see everything from the higher perspective, then as a quantum creator, that will be what occurs. But as long as we stay separate, it doesn't happen. So this who is the horn god and these other things like this, to me, these primordial things bring us back, because it's like the deepest part of the earth and the highest part of the heavens, right?
Yeah.
What you got, man?
Yeah, I kind of like thought about that, and then I decided, no, I don't want to do that. So I'll just talk for a couple of minutes. But there's something, because I've tried to do a Facebook Live a couple of times, and I don't think I'm meant to do Facebook Lives anymore because the sound isn't happening. So, but what I wanted to share was just this little nugget, which keeps coming up with people that I work with, and it's one of those things that it just seems so simple, but you know, it's almost like, is it worth sharing it? Because surely it's so obvious to everybody, but it seems that it's not. And it's this thing that, you know, when we're born and we have these things happen to us, we're brought up by parents, you know, we're born into this lunatic asylum called society. We're brought up by parents who are traumatized, who are children in adults' bodies, who, you know, are kind of lost themselves and they don't know who they are. And then, you know, we experience all this trauma. As a child, we always interpret that trauma as there must be something wrong with me, because they're the adults, they're the grown-ups. They, you know, it can't be them that's got it wrong. There must be something wrong with me. So it's, you know, I must be unlovable, I must be unworthy, something like that. So with all the hundreds of people that I work with, that's always the foundation, the sort of, you know, the false foundation. So what I encourage everybody to do is develop a morning practice as the number one thing. Do some things when you wake up in the morning that communicate to you that you honor and love yourself, and make those a consistent practice. Small steps consistently taken result in massive changes. And the reason why that morning practice is just so powerful is because it communicates that you love and honor yourself. It's not just saying it in the conscious mind, you know, waiting for ages for that to permeate down into the unconscious. But when you action things that love and honor yourself, you know, whether it's hot and cold showers, some breath work, some Tai Chi, some meditation, some whatever it is, juicing or whatever, it's what I call putting love into action. So you are communicating to yourself that you love and honor yourself. And that in my own experience and through trial and error with lots of people I work with, is the one single most powerful, tool for shedding trauma. For deleting old programs and replacing them with a loving, whole, healthy, approach to self and self-compassion and self-care. And I share that also because I would say, the greatest work that we can do is liberate ourselves from the stories, is know thyself. And there's all the programs again in society, put everybody else first, surely it's not right to get up in the morning and, and spend an hour just taking care of you. It's like, well, hell yeah, it is. That's what we are meant to do. And that is possibly one of the greatest ways that we can serve the rest of humanity as well, by doing that simple work consistently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I like that because, so much of this, I mean, we all spend enough time, if we're out there in the ethers all the time, we're not present with the human. we're not going to find that primordial link, that we're going to integrate with the highest of the high of our aspects. But I liked what you said because it's like if the day is a copy of the life, then how would you run your life? You know what I mean? So the day, so you're building a foundation on the substance of your essence and your experience. So I'm happy to be every morning. My God, I don't know what's happened to me. I mean, I've stopped drinking. I'm drinking juice. I'm probably going on a 30-day juice fast here pretty quick. And by the way, I've never really done stuff like this, but I got to tell people it's amazing. It'll purge the hell out of you. So get ready. But I saw this thing a few years ago. It was Wayne Dyer right before, I want to say it might have even been the last production he was involved with. It was when he had cancer. And it wasn't very long. It was like maybe a 15-minute video presentation. But I'll never forget the way it starts. They have a camera in his bedroom. He wakes up. He, gets to the side of the bed, puts his feet on the ground, and then his narration starts. And it says, "Thank you." And it just goes on. I can't remember all the words, but his whole day was starting with gratitude. And then, of course, moving on to what you're talking about, where you're actually doing literal things to support that gratitude for self and for the universe and so on. But yeah, so I really like that. I appreciate that. That gives me hope for Todd. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because of choking this juice down this morning. No, I really like it though. It's good. I'm learning about it. Good, brother. I don't even want to leave you, but I got to do another show. But it's really good seeing you.
Well, it's good to leave you a little bit keen, and we can meet up again before too long, Todd. I'd like that.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And for sure, no doubt about that. All right. I love you. Appreciate you. We'll be back in 30 minutes with Julie Pershin.
Lots of love. See you.